Hi, welcome back to Cinesum. This movie name will be revealed at the end, please watch till the end. Today, I am going to explain a film based on the real-life story of the juvenile fighter of World War II. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins in Russia where a family of three sit by the swash enjoying their time. The youthful of them, Sergei Aleshkov, boasts to his elder family and mama about him being on top of a tree, when suddenly, German fighter spurts fly above. The mama asks her kiddies to snappily hide in the backwoods, but the 6-time-old claims he's not spooked and strikes the spurt with a slingshot. To everyone's surprise, he manages to hit the spurts and explode them, but when he looks around, his family is gone. Sergei wakes up frightened from the dream and calls for his mama. Just also, someone knocks on his door. Assuming it's his mama, he runs towards it. But a neighbor woman comes in scarifying. She thanks God for keeping him alive and informs him that his mama and family are dead. The little boy cannot comprehend what she's saying and wants to stay in the house to stay for his mama. The woman tells him that the Germans have attacked them and that he should run down. Just also, some fighters approach their house. The woman makes Sergei run out through the window, but is shot dead before she can join him. The little 6-time-old is now on his own, with no family and musketeers. As Sergei runs down from the house, he sees his whole neighborhood burning behind him. He calls for his mama in vain and runs down from there. After running for a while, he ends up in the middle of the forest land. The little sprat starts to call for his mama to come and get him, because he's lost. That night, he stays in the jungle. The following morning, we see him drink water from a swash when the adversary fighters approach his way. Sergei, knowing that they're dangerous, snappily hides inside a tree's roots. He's startled when a snake comes hard, but doesn't maximum alert or run down. Sergei is more spooked of the fighters than of the snake. The fighters eat by the swash and go down, after which Sergei takes their leftover food and devours it for the night. Still, by the end of the day, the little boy is exhausted. He hasn't had a proper mess in 2 days and has been walking with no destination. He falls down as he limps but doesn't stop walking. While on his way, he sees wild berries and devours them. But just also, an explosion occurs behind him, taking him by surprise. The boy gets dizzy and starts to hallucinate someone coming behind him. Still, indeed in similar conditions, he stands stalwart and tells the person he has a rifle and isn't spooked. He limps forward but falls unconscious after a while. While he's asleep, 2 fighters approach him. The scene cuts to the Russian army base where Commander Kuznetsov waits for his command fighters. They come in with the little sprat who's injured and weak. When the dog faces claim they're on his side, the little boy opens up and introduces himself. The fighters laugh when the sprat shakes his hand with the commander, suggesting he introduce himself too. The fighters feel tender with the little sprat and circle him around. They make him drink water and feed him. Indeed, the else-cold commander takes care of the sprat. A nanny named Katya dresses Sergei's injuries and is charmed by his personality too. The sprat asks her to draw a tank on his injuries because he wants to be a fighter when he grows up. Indeed, the injured fighters talk to the sprat and feel lighter. Sergei is fascinated with the commander's gun and his batch. The commander too answers all the little boy's questions and lets him play with his memorial dynamo. After taking the pellets out, Sergei shows him the tank drawn on his stomach and boasts about being a dogface himself. The boy is healing veritably snappily. The nanny Katya asks the commander to let the boy stay with the Legion, but he disagrees, claiming that it won't be safe. He wants to shoot Sergei to an orphanage. The fighters spent all their free time with Sergei. He's visited by numerous throughout the day. They bring him food transferred by their families from hence and indeed let him play with their binoculars. One day, a fighter goes to the commander to ask him to let the boy stay with the Legion. The fighters have grown a close connection with the sprat and suppose of him as their own. His presence takes the weight of war off their casket. Still, the commander is adamant about transferring the boy to the orphanage for his own safety. The following day, the adversaries attack and numerous fighters are hurt. A vehicle comes to cost Sergei to take him to the orphanage. The commander breaks the news to the sprat and gives him a rustic memorial dynamo as a gift. The boy in turn leverages him, claiming that he's spooked for the commander's safety. The commander melts in his grasp and changes his mind. He asks Sergei to stay with the fighters as his son. That night, the fighters look for little fighter clothes for the little boy. They're over the moon to have Sergei stay with them. The commander wakes Sergei over and gives him the clothes. He wears them and runs around, looking like a real dog face. The others start calling him their little fighter boy. As the sprat runs around, the Germans launch an air attack on the Legion. The fighters snappily take Sergei to a safe place and fight the others. The number of injured fighters grows fleetly. Sergei wants to make himself useful so he brings water to thirsty fighters. One of them asks him to read a letter transferred by his family because he has a girth over his eyes. The little boy wants to help but doesn't know how to read. He takes the letter and starts making up the effects written on it, claiming that the Dogface's cow is safe back home. When the fighter says he doesn't have a cow, the others tell him to go on with the story and laugh. He reads everyone additional letters in the same fashion and cheers them up. In the ensuing scene, we see Katya and the commander talking. The two feel to be attracted to each other, but don't confess their passions. Latterly, Sergei tells the commander that he's of the orderly position in the Legion and starts introducing himself as one. Still, the boy also sees one of the fighters' station destroyed from the attack. The commander teaches him to take his chapeau off to pay respect to the dead fighter. The coming day, he insists the commander give him a charge and is given a task to distribute the letters among the fighters. He completes his task efficiently and indeed makes the fighters dance for him. The following day, Sergei goes a little far from the base with his binoculars. As he's playing with it, he sees someone's leg moving from inside a haystack. He rushes back to the Legion and tells the fighters about his findings. The fighters are skeptical, but go with the boy anyway. When they reach near the haystack, they're advised to see two German intelligencers hiding under. The intelligencers are arrested, and the Sprat is praised for his intelligence. That night, the commander shows Sergei the legal papers for his relinquishment. He's now officially the Sprat's father. Sergei knows of the commander's passions for Katya. So, to repay his kindness, he takes him to confess to her. But the two see her talking to a different man and wrongfully assume she's interested in someone differently. The base is attacked by the Germans again. This time, Sergei helps the fighters with all his might by supplying security to the fighters in the front line. But the fighters there command him to go back to the chalet because it's too dangerous outside. When he comes to the chalet, he sees the commander and others scarifying because the phone's connection with the colonel is lost. A fighter is transferred to fix the broken cables. Sergei follows the fighter and sees he has been fatally wounded. He asks the dying fighter how he can fix the cables and does it himself. The connection comes back and further colors are called. The 6 times old saves everyone's life. Latterly, we see the commander and Katya talking by the swash. The commander eventually confesses his love for her and asks her to be Sergei's mama. Katya is over the moon, but before she can say anything, a fighter approaches them and gives the commander a letter, saying they've been dispatched from the base. The following day, all the fighters leave for their new base along with Sergei. Still on their way, they come across a minefield that blows off some of their vehicles. The commander is hurt while the group's orderly, who Sergei was close with, dies in the explosion. He cries and hugs the commander. They carry the injured bones with them and continue their trip to their new base. When they eventually reach the other base, they meet the commander's leader, the general. He too is impressed by the Sprat's ambition and congratulates the commander for having such a smart Sprat. The following day, their division is awarded a guard's banner, and so is the boy. He promises to save his country when the general gives him his badge. One night, their base is attacked severely, and the commander is trapped under the remains. Sergei cries for his father and tries to save him. He calls the other fighters, who eventually bring the commander out. The coming day, Sergei approaches an injured commander. His hands were hurt while trying to save the commander. The Sprat is now in thick part of the platoon. He does N'(T) have a family beside them and moves wherever they go in the war. The movie ends as the troop is seen moving to another base. A voice in the background narrates that he indeed took part in the Stalingrad battle and reached Poland with the fighters. He's presently known as the world's youthful fighter ever, and the fabulous story of his frippery is now spread for the whole world to hear. This movie name is Soldier Boy. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to watch more cine summaries like this, turn on notifications and press the like button to support us.